Hello and welcome to the DC Stewart Show Podcast featuring my co-hosts Isaah and Najee. Happy Memorial Day. It's a Monday morning on Pacific Standard Time and it's Monday afternoon on Eastern Standard Time. I'm Derek, Isaah, Najee. We're here today because of people who gave their life for Memorial Day. We need to salute and celebrate our troops who died in the face of freedom, and we want to make sure that we acknowledge everyone. I know in my family, I had a veteran in my family, as well as Isaah having a veteran in his family as well. So we're very happy that we can be a part of this and be in a free country. And we just want to make sure that we're making sure that we're taking care of our troops in the United States and around the world. Hit that like button and subscribe. We've hit 125,000 views and we're so happy. We're so elated. Let's get a round of applause, guys. 125,000 views. I cannot say enough. I mean, because this journey has began, but it's been already in place. So we're actually cruising on into 150,000 views and then thereafter. So we want you to subscribe, look at all of our videos, check out our shorts. Our shorts is really good, but also check out our long form videos because, you know, we have some really interesting topics that we start out talking about. And you only get a piece of that when you're looking at the shorts. So, you know, we ask that you come and watch the long form videos. Some of them can be 6 minutes on into 20 minutes, but you know, I think it's well worth your time as a viewer to see what we have to offer. We have a sports packed weekend. We have a lot of stuff going on with sports. We're going to be concentrating on it, NBA today, to make sure that, you know, we cover the game from last night and we cover the game from a few nights ago. These teams, it looks like we're on a fresh series again. We're starting out on a fresh series again. And both, you know, series is 2-1 right now. Indiana had an opportunity last night to really make a big splash, but they didn't. So we'll have Najee chime in on that. But in the meantime, I want to step to my friend Isaah and my colleague and my co-host, my anchor. Man, you look pretty damn sharp today, man. What's going on?
Man, thanks, man. I'm so blessed and highly favored, man, to wake up on a beautiful, shiny Memorial Day, man, and respecting all the veterans. I have multiple family members that was in the military, and I respect them all. And one of our family members gave their life, you know, in the Korean War. Judge Daniels, my dad's brother, was murdered in the Korean War. So, man, we always honor and salute this flag. The country. Memorial Day weekend is such a special moment for us personally, man, because of this. So I wish everybody to honor this day more than anything. Go out there and do something good, barbecue, fellowship with your friends and colleagues and cousins and everything. Anything to do something positive because this is a very positive day. So everybody enjoy it. Yeah.
Absolutely. You couldn't have said it any better. And I have the one and only Najee here. He's a basketball expert. And he's going to be breaking it down to you piece by piece, step by step of last night's game, as well as the game a couple of nights ago, because we have some really exciting series. And I'm so excited to see which teams are going to actually make it to the finals, because right now it's kind of up in the air with 2-1, 2-1. It's like kind of like they're starting over again. So, Najee, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
You have a
Nice
good
and blessed.
weekend?
Yeah, I'm blessed to be up on this Memorial Day weekend, man. Well, one Memorial Day now because the weekend is over. But I'm
Right.
doing great though, man. I just had a little barbecue type of food. Had mac and cheese,
Oh,
ribs, baked
you're
beans,
making me
rice.
jealous. You're making me
Yeah, so
jealous, man. You're killing me. You're making me
yeah,
jealous.
it was pretty good, man. I'm waiting for my dessert, but I'm a little full.
Hey, you want to save that dessert till later. If you just ate, you want to save that dessert until probably later on this afternoon. I would probably say 4 hours from now, your stomach might be able to take it in and absorb
Yeah.
it like it should. Tell you a little bit about my weekend. I started out on Saturday. I had a pretty good day on Saturday. I got a lot of productive things done. And, I always try to schedule my days now where I'm actually planning ahead of time and trying to foresee some of the things that I want to foresee in terms of how I map out my day and my weekends and things like that. So I had a pretty good Saturday. The weather's been good here in LA, by the way. And yesterday I had a really good day, very prosperous day. Got home, watched a little bit of the Knicks and the Pacers game. We got a lot of unpacking to do on that game because there was several situations where Indiana had complete control of the game and then they gave it up. And then, once they gave it up and the momentum changed, it shifted the whole mentality of both teams in terms of New York's ability to be able to come in and think and feel like they can win it after being down 15 points, after being down 20 points. So sports is so unpredictable in a lot of ways, but then again, it's predictable because Isaiah and myself had a conversation a couple of days ago. With these NBA series, I haven't seen a sweep in quite some time. Najee would know the exact time more likely, but I haven't seen a sweep because I know Vegas puts a lot of wagers on these games. I think the NBA has it structured where there's no sweeps. I mean, I'm not going to say they have it structured where they are trying to stage it, but I just don't think they will have sweeps, based on that. So we'll get into unpacking this game, the Eastern Conference Finals with New York against the Pacers. New York fell behind really. I mean, they fell behind and then they just didn't seem to have any hope until going into halftime. I think both coaches
They
made some
fell down. They
adjustments.
fell down deep early.
Exactly. And, that's the wrong thing to do when you're playing any type of team is to fall behind so early. But with that said, New York had the wherewithal and they had the confidence to know. Plus, Cat came to life. Cat started shooting. Cat have games where he's either a sharpshooter or he's not. He's a finesse player. He doesn't play the physical type of basketball that I'm used to seeing back from the era of Shaquille O'Neal. And, I can name Kareem and Moses Malone. That's way back when. But just of recent, you looking at Shaquille and you looking at guys like that. Patrick Ewing and that. David Robinson. And guys like that. They stepped up when it needed to happen. I mean, they stepped up their game when it needed to really happen and come to life. And when you have a team down, you got to put them away. You got to step on them in a way, just like you smashing out a rodent, basically, in a lot of ways, because you can't give them the idea that they can hang around and they could still be in this series or game or whatever the situation is. I think Indiana made some mistakes, drastic mistakes into the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter. And, the rest is history because Cat pretty much came to life. We'll go over a lot of the breakdown of the stats. I know Jalen Brunson got in trouble early with foul trouble. I remember Najee mentioning a long time ago. Both of them did. Exactly. Him and Cat.
Both of them.
So with these guys being in foul trouble, it all goes back to what Najee stressed in our last show that, maybe Thibodeau is playing these guys a little too long. Maybe he's not subbing them quickly enough. I mean, I'm going to get both of you guys' take on that because that makes all the difference in the world. You get a guy a break because when basketball players get tired, they tend to make mistakes and they'll foul. I mean, that's just common, sense. When they get exhausted or fouled, I mean, they could foul.
That's just normal body function.
Exactly. You tend to reach out and grab. You tend to chop. You tend to do things. And exactly. And the injury, the levels of injury, the probability of injury can go up because the player is actually extending his ability to be able to take rest and recover. So let's get this party started. Where the party at?
He's right here.
I can't hear
Right
you.
It's right
here.
here.
The
It's right
party
here, big
is
dog.
right
It's
here.
right
It's
here.
right here. It starts here and it finishes here. So if you want to join this party because we want you here to party along with us. So let me get the first topic out to Najee. Najee, I want to ask you, okay, both teams pretty much faced off the first and second quarters. Give me your take on the pretty much the vibe of the game starting out, going into halftime, and then second half.
I'm talking about the Knicks, right?
Correct.
All right. So the Knicks, they came with a certain urgency in the beginning of the first quarter, but the thing is, their shots wasn't falling. So now, when the Pacers wasn't, their shots wasn't falling either. But when they started to fall, the Knicks started getting foul trouble because their shots wasn't falling. So they was over defending. They was playing too tough. You can't do that. Most of the time, you can't do that on the road because the referee's going to try to side more with the home team more than anything.
Correct.
Like when Bronson was in foul trouble the entire game. Now, how many fouls you get before you foul out in a basketball game? 6, right?
Correct.
He had
Right.
4. He had 4 in the second quarter. He
Wow.
was so they completely took him out the game, even though he still scored 23. It was actually shocking to see that. But Cat had 3 fouls in the second quarter also. So but by that time they was down 20. So I'm like, oh man, they finna call this game away because they're already kind of top heavy when it comes to those two players because they can give you 60, 70 points off rip. So you mean to tell me both of your star players got to sit down in the first half while you're already down double digits? So that's already a recipe for disaster. So I said, okay, they chipping away. You had Anunoby scoring a little bit, you had Miles Bridges, and you still had Josh Hart still playing pretty good defense. So when they cut the lead, I think down to about 12 or 13, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, okay, you know what? You were just down 20. Now that you cut it down to 12, 13 points with a whole nother second half to play, if you're if your star players could kind of, wave out of the foul trouble situation, y'all can actually come back and win this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, Bronson had 4. Most of the time, when you have 3 in the first half, they sit you out for the rest of the half so you don't collect that 4th foul. So you
Right.
mean to tell me you only have 1 foul to spare for 24 minutes? That's half the game. When you just got 4 in the first 22 minutes.
Right.
So I was like, oh, these guys. I was like, oh man, come on, man, they can't go down 0-3. You go down 0-3. The league been around since what 1946. There's no team has come back from an 0-3 deficit.
They just don't
It's
come back. Yeah.
2025.
It's not
They
realistic.
don't. They've done it. They've done it in other sports, which is I think baseball and hockey, if I'm not mistaken. It's happened in those sports. But when we talk about basketball that's been around for 80 years, it has never happened.
Right.
Yeah. That was one of my
You
main
just think about all the
concerns.
greats that you ever played. All the greats that
Yeah,
ever played. You talking about Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, Durant,
Absolutely.
Shaq. You
Absolutely.
got Bird, Magic. Nobody has done it.
Mm-hmm.
So you mean to
yeah,
tell me these guys was gonna do it? Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
yeah. Najee, I
And on the
thought that
road.
was a backbreaker when they lost that first game. And for them to get hit
Mm-hmm.
across the head with a board the first game, I thought that was going to be done for them, man, because usually when you got a team to get beat like that in the first game with that game-winning shot, it usually takes your pride away. It takes everything away from you. And to see them bounce back that third game to keep from getting like 3 straight,
Mm-hmm.
what you think that locker room level of intensity, the thinking, the urgency of this game not to get closed out like this, Najee? What do you think about the coaching and the morale of the team and how they put themselves together to win this game to make it like a brand new series, so to speak?
See, that's what the reason why you have all these coaches and then you got all these other people that's on your salary cap. When you have analytics, you got assistant coaches, you have all these guys, you have motivators, you got all these people that's on the payroll. Everybody knows the history, everybody know the stats, everybody know the do's and don'ts. They know all they try to freaking have everything detailed. They know it's pretty much impossible to come back from an 0-3 deficit. Because like I told you, the league's been around for 80 years. That's a long time. That's even if you guys are older than me, that's still old enough to be our father. Bro, there's nobody can come back from that. So they already knew, bro, if we can take this, bro, sky's the limit. Because you mean to tell me our two star players was in foul trouble from the first half? We came back and still won on the road. Come on, man. You
Yeah.
can't tell me that that'll show everything you need to do. Everything you need to do. Because now you only have to do is win the next game with that same intensity. Try to stay out of foul trouble. And
Right.
then guess what? You go back. Then you go back home for game 5. And
Yeah.
you have now you done shift all momentum on your side. You home. The confidence is built up, and everybody knows that the your role players play better at home.
Well,
Star players
yeah.
that shows you star players they got the heart to do anything they do on the road or away. But your role
Yeah.
players play so much better at home. So you mean to
Right.
tell me if you can rough this one more game out tomorrow night, and then you go back home, bro,
Yeah.
your confidence is sky high because now
Yeah.
you're gonna have even the additional support that you need.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So it looks like the Knicks had 16 fouls in the first half. That to me sounds quite extensive to have that many fouls. I mean, obviously it looks to me and from what I observed from the first half of the game is Indiana was taking it to them. I mean, they technically
Mm-hmm.
was driving into the paint. They were getting the looks. They were getting, the dump offs and things of that. And Tyrese Halliburton, he was on fire as usual in the first half. And, Siakam, he played really well first half.
No, Siakam
But
was everywhere. He
yeah,
wasn't
he
really
was all over the
scoring
place.
like deep in his bag, but he was all over the place. He was defending everywhere. He was rebounding everywhere. Every time Bronson or who Josh Hart or even Cat, they try to get into the paint. For some reason, he was still there to either defend the shot or block it. I'm like, bro, what are you on right now? You're completely everywhere. A
Yeah,
pest, man.
Pascal Siakam, he was on fire, man. And then the second half, it just seemed like the trends changed. I mean, a lot of the looks and the plays that Indiana did on the first half just didn't look like they
Mm-hmm.
had the motivation or the spirit to do it in the second half, Najee. So where do you think they went off the rails at? I mean, what particular time or quarter do you think they went off the rails and started to lose the momentum?
More of the late third to early fourth, because even because that's when Bronson was actually able to stay out of foul trouble quite a bit. So he was getting his momentum. He was playmaking a little bit. He was scoring, but then when Cat got in the fourth quarter, because I think if I'm not mistaken, Cat only had like out of 4 or 7 points the first like 2 3 quarters. I'm like, oh man, he's having a poor game. He ain't even trying, even though he was in foul trouble. But then he scored more than half of his points in the fourth quarter. I said, oh, okay, finally he did exactly what I told you he need to do because they got I'm not Evan Turner. They have Miles Turner. They have Siakam. They're pretty big when it comes to height, length, but they body is nowhere near the body size he is. So as Cat was starting to post, he was actually taking it to the rack. You actually seen just the force that if he came in the game with like Shaq type of intensity, there's nobody
Yeah.
guarding him on the Pacers. He really like he actually was taking it to the rim. He was getting hook shots. He was getting layups. He dunked it a couple of times. He actually was at the rim versus taking all these threes or these mid range. He hit a couple of threes in the fourth quarter, but the thing is, what I'm saying is because what he did, he also mixed it up, which actually kept them on their toes because you're not gonna just go to the rim every time.
Correct.
So guess what he did? So as they anticipate him going to the rim, took a three, blah, right in their face. I said, "Oh, beautiful." I said, "Oh, you in your bag today because you know you can't lose today because they were trying to keep Bronson out the game. They trying to. Now, one thing everybody do know when somebody in foul trouble, and if you're a best player, what you need to do continuously take it to them because they either going to have to give it to you because they don't want another foul, or you're going to take them out the game. So either way, you just charge at them. The results is going to work in your favor.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to ask you, Najee. I was thinking, were the Knicks more aggressive? Were they more physical? Did they get down there like some crazed dogs and just take it to them like they didn't do before? And that's the ultimate reason why they won the game?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because the thing is, the Pacers work together as a team. Nobody has like overlapping stats on the next person on that team. See, the Knicks have that. They have that with Cat. They have that with Bronson. Bronson will give you 30. Cat will give you 10. Not 10. He'll give you like 25 to 22 points or whatever. But then they supporting cast will give you 10s and 8s and 12s or whatever. If you go to the Pacers stats, if you actually look at the box score, everybody give you a good piece of everybody. So it's nobody giving you high stats and everybody else is low, or you have that one person with high stat and everybody try to give you supporting numbers. Like you have people with 12, 18, 16, 14, 12. So you have everybody that's almost kind of identical when it comes to the numbers. Like when I checked just the rebounds alone, when I checked last night, they had several people with 4 and 3 rebounds. That means everybody's chipping in. Everybody's chipping in.
Yeah,
Now, if you checked on the Knicks, you had Cat with like 15 rebounds. You had Josh Hart with 10 rebounds. Then you had some people with 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 2. It's the
the balance.
balance is different between the two. The balance is completely different. Everybody on the Pacers actually take turns pitching in, so everybody give a piece of the pie. When everybody on the Knicks over there, you got two big dogs that's getting big stats. Then everybody tries to chip in what they can't produce like the other team does.
So I see a discrepancy here where it shows the Knicks had a 34.4 percentage 3-point conversion that to the 20% conversion rate for the Pacers. So it
Mm-hmm.
looks like the Knicks were on fire last night when it came to shooting those threes, and Cat was a big part of that. I mean, he just came to life pretty much like you said in the late part of the third quarter into the fourth quarter. He just took over.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because one thing I've learned about certain shooters in the NBA is they either hot or they're cold or they're kind of in the neutral spot or so-called dead spot where they could hit threes, but it's not consistent enough during a game. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
look at Steph Curry, he's consistent. He's without a doubt consistent. Guys like
Yeah,
Steph Curry,
he's the
and
most consistent.
exactly.
He's the
And
most I've ever seen when it comes to consistency.
right. And Ray Allen was
Yeah.
another one. Now, Ray Allen had some off games when he was with the Heat because I most of the time I watched Ray Allen, it was either with the Celtics or
He
with
was
the Heat.
cold.
But once Ray Allen came to life, especially from those corners, he was deadly. He was
Mm-hmm.
deadly from the
Yep.
corner shots. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're not
But
hitting
by the time he got
threes,
to the Heat, he was already an older player anyway. So
absolutely.
he
And he
was
was
a
a role player.
minimized role player. So when he's in the game, sometimes it's hard for you to just give you instant offense when you play freaking 8 to 12 minutes when you got everybody else playing 25 to 34 minutes when they already warm and their ligaments and their body is loose. So
Yeah.
it's you're able to pitch in a lot easier than somebody that you're like, oh man, we down 15. Okay, Ray, please give me 3 threes right now. You got 6 minutes. Like what?
Right.
So yeah, sometimes
So
it's hard to be instant offense.
that was one major discrepancy because I'm looking at the numbers right now. It looks like the Knicks shot 90% from the free throw line as opposed to 81% from the Pacers. And let me bring in a name that I left out. She's from the WNBA, and if you think long and hard about it, you got to give Caitlin Clark credit as well. That she is a sharpshooter as well. Once
Sharpshooter,
she throw up anything, pretty much it
Yeah.
tends to always go in. So
yeah.
consistent wise, I'm going to add her in with the players that I just
Mhm.
mentioned from the
Yeah,
NBA
the
because
mix.
we want to keep the WNBA pretty much in the hunt for some of the players that's in the WNBA that's competing at the highest level. Because both leagues are completely different because you have all men's league and you have all women's league. But on the come up side of it, the WNBA has some players that definitely we got to be on the lookout for. And Caitlin Clark is one of them. She's already done turned the tides for the Indiana Fever's team. They're the team to beat.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about her later because I have some questions for you guys as opposed to some of the media attention that's been paid to her, with filing Angel Clark, and then you had the New York Liberty player go after her the other night. So we definitely want to cover some of those angles when it comes to Caitlin Clark. But back to this game with the Knicks and the Pacers. Why couldn't Najee? Why couldn't the Knicks do this the first and second game? I mean, what took them so long?
They actually did that the first game. Eric, you remember it was a high scoring game. They both hit almost 140 points. They just couldn't defend. That was the problem.
So the defensive part of it, they just couldn't stop Indiana.
Defense definitely was the problem. Yeah, the first game they scored a whole bunch of points.
I'm telling you, it went down to the wire. I mean, it was the last shot. The Pacers shot to win the game. Remember, only a couple of minutes into the game, they was up like 9 or 10 points. They tried all they can, man.
They was as much as up 17. Yeah. So they scored enough. They just didn't stop enough.
Absolutely,
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
they ran out of gas.
I have a question for you, Isaiah. Which coach to you stepped up last night or didn't step up, or both coaches pretty much was even in their strategies and the way that they sub their players and things of that sort?
I think both of them were pretty even, but I think Carlisle he just wasn't prepared for that Knicks run at the end, man. He's done everything. I mean, that's why they was up 2-0 because the coaching philosophy has worked. And it's just the fact that, the Knicks had it where they know it was a sense of urgency and they needed that game and they pulled it off. That's all they needed to win this game to kind of swing the momentum back their way, because now this is like an even series. And that's exactly what they needed.
Both conferences is technically a new series with a 2-1 lead.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because either team, like, for example, the Knicks can just all of a sudden turn it, and then they just start winning the next 2 or the next 3 or whatever it takes. And then that's the same with the Minnesota Timberwolves when it comes to OKC. And we'll talk a little bit about that series a little bit later.
I'll tell you one thing, DC, if the Knicks pull off this next game,
it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting.
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
They can go from they can be down from 0-2 to 3-2 real fast.
Yeah. And that just goes to show you with the shift. Now, as far as Tom Thibodeau, I think he did a fairly good job last night, even with his subs and some of the strategies that he set up in the second half. I think some of that worked. And as I said earlier, once Cat comes alive, Cat makes it happen. When he's shooting well, the Knicks play well. I mean, they tend to play a little bit better than when he's not shooting well. And that was the same with the Minnesota Timberwolves. When he was with the Timberwolves, he was either on or off. Very, very few times that he was right there in the middle, pulling both sides, where he could shoot and he could play under the basket as well. Because we've been talking about Karl Anthony Towns showing some consistency. Mainly from the perspective of him being a little bit more physical due to his size. Some players are just not going to be physical. You have finesse players and you have physical players.
It's just not their style of play.
And it's just not in them. Yeah, it's just not going to be in them, no matter how much you try to coach them up or how much you try to really kind of motivate them.
Piss them off. Yeah.
Exactly.
Sometimes people try to piss off their best players, see if they can come in with aggression. Now, let's say, for example, they do pass the Pacers and they got to play OKC. There's nobody in OKC can really guard him either. Everybody's puny. I just checked, check. He's 7'1", 7'2", right? Do you know how much he weighs as a grown man?
How much?
He's 208 pounds.
God, that is
at
7'2".
That sounds skinnier than
he can thump him out the way.
That sounds skinnier than lighter than Wemby, because Victor Wembanyama. I mean, he's not that heavy either.
No,
Yeah, but for that height, he's got to be like 260, man.
Yeah, or at
For
least
that
at
height,
least.
240, 250.
yeah, yeah.
No, because he's 6'9" and he's 260. So he needs to be at
Right.
least 260, 270, another four or
Yep.
5 inches. What you mean?
Hmm.
He's got to
It's
fill
okay. For
that frame
example,
out.
look at look how skinny Yao Ming was when he was playing with the Yao Ming. Oh, the Yao Ming with the Houston
Houston,
Rockets, right?
Houston Rockets, right?
Houston
He was
Rockets. He was
300
about
something.
7'5". He was about seven
Yeah,
five. I was shocked to see that he
but
was
he's
still over
300.
300 pounds. He was over
Yep.
300 pounds at 7'5",
Hmm.
but he looked puny. So
Yeah.
imagine
Yep.
somebody that's 2 inches, 2-3 inches shorter than him, but weighs 100 pounds less than him.
Lighter. Yeah.
You
Come
know
on,
who else?
man.
You know who else was a Mack truck in it that I remember really well in the league was Karl Malone when he played for the
Karl
Utah
Malone,
Jazz,
yeah.
especially coming out of
Mm-hmm.
college, and when he got to the Jazz the first 3 to 5 years. I mean, he was physical, man. Nobody could handle
Yeah.
Karl Malone under that basket. I don't care who you put
Yeah.
on him. You could put Kareem
He was
on him.
very.
You could put any of those centers on him back then, and he was just going to dominate
Yeah.
him because that's just the confidence he had because he was buffed
Yeah.
up anyway for his
He
for
was
his
bossed up
time.
to be able to elbow the crap out of you too, man.
And he'd elbow you and he just
Mhm.
he just sling you around like a rag doll. So I just had to bring
So
Karl
imagine
Malone
Victor
up.
Wembanyama was trying to guard him or Chet.
Oh,
Imagine them trying to guard him.
they wouldn't even have a
He's gonna
chest.
move him right out the
They'd
way.
be they'd be missing a chest if Malone would have got to him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Especially on that full drive when he was driving into that
Yeah.
basket. You better get out of his way because I wouldn't want to take a
Yeah.
charge from him.
Yeah,
If
but
you
he did a lot of that stuff intentionally, man. He would come in there and elbow the crap out of you. You stuck him in there, you put your face in there like you're gonna try to peck that ball away, your jaw be gone. Because he
true,
coming around with those elbows, boom. He spin all the way around with them elbows. And man, I done seen him knock guys down, knock them out
knock them
with them
out,
elbows like
down,
that.
out,
Yep.
whatever the case may be.
Yep.
So it
And
looks
they
like
wouldn't even call a foul on him.
Towns scored 24 of his points in the fourth quarter, and Brunson added 23 points after the Knicks rallied from 20 points, which to me was an accomplishment. I mean, all in itself, because if you're down 20 and you're trying to make that comeback, I mean, it takes a lot to have in a player to be able to say, look, we can come back from 20 down. We ain't going to lose because we going to come back.
Especially that you set down so much, and you would
Right.
think that would take you out your game.
Right. And then on top of that, Cat had 15 rebounds. So that's another thing about we talk about Cat. Can he get under the basket? Can he
Yeah,
make
just
those
his
rebounds?
size.
Can he play
His
the
size is
defense?
stopping him.
There you go. And when he plays better defense, I think the Knicks have really high probabilities of winning
For
because
winning. Yeah, yeah.
because the domination portion of it really, I don't care what nobody say in any sport. Defense, especially in sports like football and basketball, where you have sports that two different teams are competing against each other. Defense is everything. Defense wins championships. I don't
Of
care what
course it
nobody
does.
say. Defense
Mm-hmm.
wins championships, and offense pretty much entertains the crowd. That's basically what
Yeah.
it is. Because you're
Yeah.
stopping other teams from momentum, and you're stopping
Yeah.
other teams from moving forward, as
Yeah.
opposed to
Mhm.
them taking it to you taking it to them. So
Against their
defense
will,
wins
DC.
championships.
Against their will, bro. Against their
It's
will.
nothing like pushing a grown man or taking a grown man in a direction, or a grown woman, because it's women's sports as
Yeah.
well, taking them
Mhm.
in a direction against their will.
Against
It's
their
just
will.
nothing like it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Mhm.
Because
Yes, they
basically
will.
you're imposing your will on their will
On
because
them.
they're trying to fight you
Mhm.
off. I mean, the other side is really trying to keep you from doing what you're doing to them. So,
Yeah.
when it comes
Yeah.
to that, these teams that played a better defense, I think in the rest of this series is going to be the
We
better
win.
teams to win it to go to the finals. And then they're going to have to play hella defense in the finals just as well. Because if you get to the finals and then stop playing defense, guess what? You're going to lose. That's just how it is. It's just
Because I'm telling you,
there's no
I'd rather
middle
see the
ground on
Knicks go
that.
than the Pacers. I'd rather see the Knicks than the Pacers, man. That's what I'm trying to tell you. In the finals, Because if they, let's say they play OKC, they play
Right.
OKC, so you got Bronson and you got Shea. That would be love to see. Or you got Bronson and Ant-Man. Then of course you got the Julius Randle in the
With the
cat
Minnesota and
situation,
the cat
the full
situation where they
swap.
swap.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
I
swap
feel
both
like it's just
players.
gonna be so much better to watch. I would surely enjoy. As a matter of fact, I won't even care who wins that particular series because I want every last one to get a ring anyway. I want Shea to get a ring. I want Ant-Man to get a ring. I want Bronson and Cat to get one. So either way, just those three alone, I would love to see one of them teams get a ring.
You're not the only one, Najee. I think Las Vegas would rather see that. I mean, the bookies, the Las Vegas with the bookies, the
I think they
NBA,
will too.
the NBA itself will want to see a New York versus Oklahoma City
Yeah.
matchup. I mean,
They
because
bring
And
more
then on
stars
top of it,
to it,
yeah.
man.
yeah, and
They got
plus the
all the
amount of
stars over there.
attention it will
Yeah.
bring, and then to have
Yeah.
those finals played in New York and Madison Square Garden is just no
Oh man, yeah.
comparison to where Indiana plays. And then no disrespect to
Right.
Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Indiana's got a really solid team. They got a good
Just the scenery is
organization.
better, DC.
But you know, when it comes to the scenery, the celebrities showing up and all of that type of
Yeah.
thing, they gonna show up and show out when it comes to New York. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, and buts about that.
Oh boy, it'll be just like the Lakers going basically because all the stars gonna be there.
Yeah.
Every last one of them.
Yeah.
You could see the
But the thing is,
excitement
what
when
I
they
was,
got here to where they are, man. You should have seen the excitement out
yeah.
of all these old Knicks fans coming out there and congratulating the team. I had never seen that before, though, man. The
Really?
way Spike
With,
Lee and
with the
Stephen
Knicks,
A. and
yeah.
all those guys congregated on the court after they, got to this position where they are now, man, they were so happy, like it was rejoiceful for them to see the Knicks get this far. I mean, everybody was chiming in on that new era of the Knicks coming back like this to be able to get this deep in the finals, man. And that's why I think it'll be better for them to be there, man, because it's going to put a lot of butts in the seats. People going to be making money right and left because these folks bring that intensity, man,
They do.
level of all the fan base coming. Yeah.
They do. And we talked about
Well, look
this
at it. It's been
in the
26
past.
years since they've been there, so that's already
Yeah.
half their
Thank you.
lives out there.
Thank
They
you.
were young when the last time they went. Now they're everybody's like a grandparent now at this stage of their
Well,
life.
these current players from the Knicks wasn't even born when John Starks and all of them were playing in the
Some,
finals.
Yeah.
some of them
At
was.
least some of
Some
them.
of them
I'm not gonna
wasn't.
say all
So
of them.
right there
wasn't
alone,
born.
it tells you everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look
Because
at New York,
Bronson dad used to play for them too, and Bronson his dad is part of the staffing the coaching staff.
oh really? Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's
So now for
definitely
his
good to
son to
know.
play underneath them too, and he's the leader of the team. So I mean that shows you a lot right there. And that's also what I've told a lot of people too. When you're the star player on a franchise and your son comes up, a lot of times the son don't hold up that same type of weight that their father did. Now, if their father was just a spot up shooter or they was just a role player, then most of the time their son will end up being that dog, like how Kobe was, or his
Right.
or Klay Thompson,
Yeah.
or even Dale Curry, because Dale Curry wasn't that type of player like his son is right now. So
No,
it's
Daryl
just
Curry
always
didn't
end up
even
being like
have
that.
that same type of style that Steph has.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly. Shit, look how dominant Shaq was,
Yeah.
and guess what? His son
Yeah.
really can't be on the roster now. So,
His son
Yeah, that's true,
Sharif.
man.
Are you referring to Sharif?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because he was on the Lakers roster at one point, and then I don't know what happened from there.
Well, that's the
Well,
same thing with Bronny and
yeah, it is the
LeBron.
same thing with Bronny.
Yeah,
It really is.
yeah, because Bronny's not for the whole none of that type of way his father did.
Well, he
Looking
didn't
looking
even be mentioned in the same sentence.
looking at some of these team stats in comparison that I'm looking at here, it looks like most of the stats were pretty fairly even between the two teams, with the exception of the 3-point shooting percentage. I mean, because if you look at, and the free throw line was very close, but if you look at how many, for example, fast break points, Indiana had 16 fast break points. The New York Knicks had only 2
Mhm.
fast break points. That's another factor.
Yeah, they hybrid. The Pacers are hybrid.
Right.
They
Right.
capitalize off that.
and they capitalized off those fast breaks because I know Tyrese Halliburton in the first and second quarter, he was getting those fast break shots in drives, and it was just amazing. It was
Yeah,
really good.
but they all skinny and they run fast. Halliburton's 6'5". I think he's like 180. So yeah, they just run up and down the court, man.
They have those young legs to do it. I mean, if you look at
That too, yeah.
yeah, and then you look at this generation of players versus last generation's players, it's not even a comparison in terms of physical ability and speed and size, and that goes for football as well. You look 30 years ago, defensive lineman wasn't running a 4.6. Some defensive line, which is very exceptional, they can run between a 4.5 and a 4.6. And that goes for basketball. Some of those centers, they get up and down the court. You look at Wemby, as tall as he is, he can actually bring the ball up the court. He can dribble. He can make plays by bringing the ball up the court. How many centers in the past could bring the ball up the court? That just wasn't possible.
Not only that,
You
some
know?
of those centers will get tired in the second half. They won't even come down to defend. They will stay down on the other side of the basket.
Yeah, I remember those
They wouldn't
days.
even run all the way down, man. They wouldn't even
You
go
remember
down the
those
court.
days,
They would
right?
come-
You remember those
Chat was
days?
awesome in doing that.
they would
Yeah.
come
Chat was
fat.
awesome in
Most of
doing
them was fat.
that.
Most of them was fat,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, because
Some
most
of
of
them guys
them,
was
man,
fat, man, overweight.
yep. You look at
But
guys
on
like,
but on top of that, that's a lot of times why they get injured too. These younger players because it's every time somebody that's a certain height always doing something that like Shaq or Yamin was not doing. That's why a lot of times you hear Durant get hurt a lot. That's why a lot of times you hear like Victor have like foot problems because scientifically you shouldn't be able to do what a guard do freaking
That's
14
not.
inches taller than them.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like you tell me a
doesn't,
Chris Paul can do to have
right.
a small crossover. Okay, he's above average height as a man, but in basketball is short. But you mean to tell me Victor is 7'4"? He can do the exact same crossover? Nah, no. You scientifically not supposed to be able to do that. So as they get older, that's why if you look at anything with Kevin Durant, when it comes to injuries for him, he always have ankle to foot problems because he's tall like
Yeah.
Joel Embiid. Because if you've seen a picture with them, they're the same height. But you mean to tell me he has
Right.
a crossover too?
Yeah.
He
So
has a crossover
Najee,
and he's fast.
so did Tyrese Halliburton take his foot off the pedal, the gas, in the second half, or would
No,
you
but I told you about Tyrese though. But I told you about Tyrese. Tyrese is a very decent player, but he doesn't have a offensive bag like that. He's not a Damian Lillard. He's not a Kyrie Irving. He's not that type of player. That's why he's a 6'5" point guard because he don't have an offensive bag. Like he can score. I mean, everybody that's in the league can actually score. He'll have spurts that he'll score. He have a good game where he'll score 25, 30 points. But when you talk about a consistent 30 points, he's not that type of player. He only averaged like 17, 18 points for the season. That means he don't have an offensive bag like that. That's why a lot of times they're getting points off of fast breaks. When they get the steals, he'll get some free throws, then he'll get some cuts. You don't see him develop his own shot and just like for example, if he comes up and he say we need a three or we need you a mid range, he's not going to do it just off a screen, or he's not going to he's not going to do a one-on-one type of offense. He's going to get help in order for him to get open or for him to buy space.
Yeah.
He's not a one-on-one player. He don't have a bad like that when it comes to offense. That's why he scores through the game versus Bronson. We need 7 points consecutive right now. He's not going to give you he's not that type of player because Bronson don't need another player to help him score. He can score on his own.
True. So which bench came alive yesterday? Which bench would you give the advantage to, Najee, on from
Obviously
this
the Knicks.
game? The Knicks, of course. I mean,
Obviously the Knicks. Obviously the Knicks.
absolutely.
Because guess what? We just said the two best players on the Knicks was out for a lot of the game, and then a lot of the time they were down double-digit points. So they either kept them afloat or they brought the lead down. I mean the deficit down quite a bit. So when they were able to come back in the game and produce anything for them, that's when it was like, okay, oh, we did a hard job. Now y'all go ahead and score, please. Thank God.
Yeah, yeah. So
hmm
Isaiah, let me get your prediction for this next game. because this next game is in Indiana as well.
They still got to win. They still got to win.
So do Indiana definitely need to get this next one, would you say?
Yes, they got to. If they don't win this next game, man, they're gonna be in some serious trouble, man. Because I'm gonna tell you, to be even at that point, and they're gonna have their backs against the wall, man. Because they'll totally be letting these guys off the hook if they lose this game. So if they don't win, they're gonna be in some serious trouble, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, because they're gonna be playing uphill. They're gonna be playing uphill going back to New York. You know, and New York gonna be coming downhill on them big time because New York is gonna have that newfound confidence that man, we can ace them now. Yeah. And you don't want to give a team, as I said before, once you have a series
confidence and go home.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, I think it's done already. I think they got their confidence level built up. Because as Najee said, remember New York wasn't swapping out their players, and now they're starting to swap off their players. And look what the success they had by swapping off their players, letting the other players rest, and bringing the bench in. And they got their game handled last night. But if they continue to do this, this thing is going to be brand new.
I'm going to make a bold prediction. I'm going to give you guys a bold prediction. I think the Pacers are going to get it handled. I really do. I don't think the Pacers is going to let this slip out from under them. I think that Halliburton and all of those guys, they're going to step up. Siakam and the rest of the crew is going to step up, and they're going to defend what they've already got out front with. And they're not going to let New York tie this game up with them tomorrow or whenever they play. I think it's the next few days they're going to play each other again because I believe Minnesota and OKC play tonight, if I'm not mistaken. And I'll follow up on that. But man, this is a beautiful thing. And you know what I like about this series is both conferences where you got completely fresh teams other than New York, because New York is a legacy team. But if you get an Oklahoma City and a Pacers series, you just got a bunch of youngsters that's going to be facing off of they're going to be going at it, even though it might not be the look that the NBA would prefer to have. As far as
this is what they need. I told you this a couple of weeks ago. They need this. They need young players to produce. Like, for example, for Shea, he already got an MVP. You mean to tell me if he get a championship, how many championships you think OKC has / Seattle? When you had the type of players they had drafted and playing for them, the Supersonics, they had Ray Allen, they had Rashard Lewis, they had Gary Payton, they had Sean Kemp, they had Durant, Harden, Westbrook. None of them got a ring for them. Some of them still don't have a ring. Now, you mean tell me Shea, the first one to bring a championship to him, and an MVP, and in the same year?
Oh yeah, that's
his stock
off the chart.
is shooting up.
That's off
his
the
stock is shooting up.
That'll be off the charts. I mean, with Shea being able to bring a championship to Oklahoma City, it's taking it to the next level for that franchise and even for him, because I mean he's one of the faces of the NBA in terms of the talent level. And if Oklahoma City get one this year, I mean, who's to say they couldn't get one next year, because they just have
next
that
year.
much
They already got
talent.
The second youngest team in the league. So why?
Exactly. Exactly.
There need to be some young kid come out there, man, because it's like LeBron been around for 20 years. There need to be some standout person to take that mantle from LeBron leaving here, because it's been him for 20 years. It needs to be some young kid that needs to come out and shine and get championships, get MVP on a consistent level to pass that mantle off of that person, because LeBron is out the door, man. It needs to be a young face now.
No doubt about it.
And Curry.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. If you look at it, and you know, several teams that we haven't even mentioned from the East and the West, they have just as look at Houston out of the West. I think Houston is the newfound talent of the West. It's going to be a force to be dealt with over the next several years. And I'm not just saying only Houston, but Houston tended to stick out. One of the reasons, you know, because Ime Udoka, he actually stepped up to the plate when he went there, and look how that franchise has made a turn, made a positive turn. Yeah, you know, and you look.
They went from not making the playoffs to being the second team in the West.
Exactly.
All just within the very next season.
And then you look at the East and you look at Donovan Mitchell and crew out of the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, they ain't going nowhere either. I mean, they're gonna step up to the plate. This year they just couldn't get it done against Indiana. But I think Cleveland is they're gonna be a talent to be dealt with next year. As
Especially now the
well.
Celtics look like they're going to be down. Especially
Yeah.
they look like they finna, because they're gonna have to break that team up quite a bit, because after they got that championship, everybody got paid. And then, well, guess what?
Mm,
Every year, what happens when you sign a contract in the NBA? What happens to their contract every year? The contract works more every year. So if
yeah,
Jason Tatum
that's gonna
got
go back to the table.
50 million this year, that means next year he's going to get
Mhm.
53. And then after that, he's going to
Yeah,
get 55, 56. So that
yeah,
Right.
means they're going to have to break that team up. They're going to have to break it up. Now, Jaylen Brown, he had that slightly torn meniscus. That's cool. I mean, that can be done just in a couple of weeks when it comes to the healing process versus you get in rehab or you actually do get a little touch up surgery. But Tatum is going to be out for in the entire season. So
yeah,
More
yeah.
likely.
guess what?
Yes.
They
They're
they
gonna be
they
looking to
they're not
replace
going to
him.
be the top two
Yeah,
seeds. That's not going to happen for them.
yeah.
Not next season.
Do you think
Who you think they're
Porzingis is
gonna need
trade
to?
bait? Is
I'm sorry.
Porzingis
Go ahead.
a trade bait? I mean, he could be traded somewhere.
I don't really think so because he's hurt every season. He's been
Hmm.
like that since I think his sophomore season. You can try to, because I mean anybody can technically be a trade bait when it comes to trying to get off of a bad contract. So a
Yeah,
lot of times they do that just to get rid of pieces, you get a couple of draft picks or whatever, just to, like, if you want to, like, if, for example, let's say if they want to get the Mavs want to get rid of Kyrie, just for example. So if they want to get off him, let's get Brzingis. Brzingis' contract is almost over. So go ahead and give us a draft pick and go ahead and give us Brzingis. We'll give you Kyrie. Next thing you know, now Brzingis is off your books, and then Kyrie is a free agent next season versus Porzingis is playing 2 more seasons. So you got off that contract, and you got Kyrie. We'll bear with Kyrie this season, even especially now that he torn his ACL, so he's out next season anyway. So they'll be like, boom, okay, so you now he's off the books too. We could just focus on what we have, and we have a draft pick for next season. So we're beautiful.
Yes. 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 Man, I'm
so
excited.
Najee with Tatum, you know, with Tatum being out for a whole year, precisely next year, who you think gonna be able to step in there and fill that void and fill that role for him being out? Because that team gonna be on a total decline without him playing.
Well, the Celtics already built for a huge roster anyway. They got one of the deepest team anyway, because you have Derek White, you got Drew Holiday, you have Pitchhart, the one that's off the bench. You got Jaden Brown. They was already talking about Jaden Brown possibly being out of Batman or Robin between him and Tatum. But so guess what? Now Tatum is
Yeah,
down. So let's see if you really can be a Batman or you just a solid Robin, because last season when they won the championship,
yeah,
Jaylen Brown was Finals MVP. He was also the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. So I mean,
yeah,
if you really that dog, bro, step up. Everybody else just gonna have to roll in, just like when they won that very next game without Tatum, when right after he blew his Achilles, they're going to come with that same intensity. They already like to shoot nothing but threes anyway. They had a record missing threes quite a few times this season in the playoffs. So they don't play this type of style of basketball you would think anyway.
Right. Right. Right.
yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit more about this particular series, but I want to move on to the Western Conference Finals, which looks like Minnesota
Hmm.
finally showed up. Looks like Ant-Man, he scored 30 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. He just showed his
He was going at
behind.
it.
He showed his rear end
He was going
when it
at it.
came to this
I saw him
situation.
hit a mid range on 3 people
Yeah. And it looks like Julius Randle contributed with 24 points as well. Do you think, Najee, do you
after
think
coming off a
Minnesota,
6 point game.
after coming off of a 6 point game, do you think they have a chance now to try to even up this series with Oklahoma City, or is just going to continue down the same road?
Oh no, Timberwolves already showed you most of the time they're not going to have back to back bad games. So they're gonna come back. They're gonna come back and do everything they gotta do. Like you saw this, like we was just talking about when Julius Randle had a 6-point game, and which just pissed everybody off because we anticipated him to get 20 plus because he was the most consistent scorer in the playoffs at that point. Now they're home, and what I told you, role players play better at home. So guess what? They gonna do their thing. I'm not gonna say they're gonna win, but they're gonna play a lot better than they did when they was in OKC. They definitely gonna do that.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like the Timberwolves established an early lead, which was 72-41 at halftime. And pretty much it was a
shut
blowout
Shea
game.
down.
They shut him down. Yeah.
Yep.
Isaiah, let me ask you this. What does Minnesota need to do moving forward from this point, since they have a little bit of wind and momentum behind them? What do they need to do to even this series up?
Well, they're gonna play like they did the other night. Well, if they don't, OKC gonna steamroll them again. And I think OKC gonna win it all. I really do. I think they're gonna win the whole series, man. And because they got the better team, I think they well rounded. They got a good coach. They got good young players, and these players play together like I not seen before. And I think they're gonna win the whole series.
How about
Yeah.
you, Najee? You think they're going to win the series as well, or you're not going to make a prediction right now?
Oh yeah, I already got OKC in the Knicks going into the finals. The Knicks might not let me down, but I already got OKC going, man. There's nobody going to beat OKC, bro. Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to beat them.
I think it's
The only thing that's going to beat
OKC.
them is themselves, but they're not going to lose, man.
I don't think so. They didn't come this far to lose. I mean, if you think about it. And I'm going to make a prediction that it's going to be OKC in Indiana. I'm just going to go ahead and go out there and throw it all out there like that. The Knicks could.
Oh, you
and
want
if the
underdog way. Gotcha.
I'm going underdog on you. I mean, because technically, if you still look at it from my perspective, I think the Knicks are still the underdogs when it comes to this because they struggled the first two games. Indiana had a bad game.
The only game they really struggled was game 2. Game 2, that's the only game they really actually struggled. They struggled game 2 and early game 3. They really actually they should not lose. But the thing is, it just go down between Cat and they role players because Bronson's gonna give it to you every time. Bronson was in foul trouble with 4 fouls of second quarter, and still scored over 20 points. Still scored over 20 points efficiently at that. So, bro, the Knicks should not lose that. They should not lose that.
That's right. I mean, because if Ant-Man and that crew want it bad enough, they'll figure out how to get it. But I don't see them getting past Oklahoma City as well.
It's just overwhelming talent over there. That's the difference between them two.
And Oklahoma City, they're gonna step it up, and once they step it up, it's gonna be they're gonna take it to that next level, and Minnesota's not gonna be able to keep up with that. I don't see that happening. But as far as the Minnesota New York series goes, that one's a toss up as well to me. And I'm going to go ahead and pick the Pacers as being the team to advance out of the East. We'll keep an eye on that particular series as well. Let's move on to the next topic, gentlemen. Let's talk a little bit about ex-ESPN analyst Max Kellerman. And I don't say ex in the sense that he's gone from ESPN indefinitely. He took time off, and his name has been in the media. His name has been all over the media about whether he's coming back or not, in what capacity he's going to come back to ESPN, if he comes back to ESPN. One thing I did learn, that ESPN has this policy, or should I say, they have their upper brass that they have made the determination that they're not going to let anyone who is an announcer or a sports analyst or sportscaster, whichever terminology you want to use, be the dominant force at ESPN. They just not going to let it happen.
Oh yeah, they show that.
You're never going to be as big as the brand at ESPN. No. They're not going to pay you like you think you should be paid, and it's going to be interesting to see if Stephen A. Smith gets this $100 million deal. More than likely, he will.
No, Stephen A. gonna get it. He's gonna get it.
Stephen A. is probably going to get it because Stephen A.
That's the only person that they actually do pay.
Exactly.
Because he knows better. He knows his line of where to stop off at, and he knows his do's and don't. He really do. Because anybody that was on ESPN, if they didn't tread lightly, guess what? You don't see them on there anymore. That's what you think. Why you think Skip is really gone? Why you think the thing when you talking about with Max Kellerman? You talking about with what's the guy that played for the Cowboys? Or
Michael Irvin.
what's it? Michael Irvin. Michael
Yeah,
Irvin. That's
Michael
why he's
Irvin.
not on there, bro. It's bro. Come on. Why you
I
think
think
Shannon Sharp? Shannon Sharp. You think Shannon Sharp was told to step down, or you think he stepped down?
he was told to
Exactly.
step down. And the thing is with
Exactly.
Shannon Sharp and Michael Irvin, they were kind of like mini scandals. I would say Michael Irvin for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
Playmaker, he
Hmm.
just was. He's a happy-go-lucky guy. Let me tell you a little bit about my experience with Playmaker. Playmaker can talk and conversate with anyone. I've talked to him
Hmm.
before out here in LA, and the guy's a happy-go-lucky guy. He's been blessed all of his life pretty
Yeah.
much from the time that he was able to play football and move on to Miami and then get that uh, contract at Dallas. I just
Yeah.
think that he was accused of something that might have not have been 100%. That's just in my opinion when it comes to the accusations and the way the NFL network and the way ESPN handled that. I thought it was very sad and shameful in a way because the guy has been on those networks so long. And then what the NFL network did is they immediately sent him home. I mean, he was at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
How
They
many other
told Russell
analysts do
something.
you know that they have immediately sent home after anything has been
No.
lodged against them?
Yeah.
So that just tells you right there that how they rushed to judgment to judge this guy before they actually
Mhm.
got all of the facts because he had a lot
The
of facts
details.
on his side when it came to that.
Yeah.
People who were witnesses there. I mean, whatever the case may have been, I just thought he was definitely mistreated. Now, getting back to the ESPN portion of it, ESPN used this as a tool not to pay people of what they think their value is. You get an analyst or a sportscaster, they go in there and they think they have negotiating power where you don't have negotiating power when they make a decision that look is bigger than the brand, other than the
Right.
CEO and the guy at the top who's making all the money, right? It happened to
Hmm.
Marcellus Wiley. It happened,
Mhm.
to several others. ESPN is one of the few sports channels that they tend to have mass terminations every year. I mean, and what I mean by mass is they let more than one person go at a time, sometimes
They clean
doubles and
house.
triples. They
Yeah. They
clean
clean
house.
house.
And a lot of
Yeah.
times they clean house, they really don't have a viable reason to do it. They just do it. I mean, they
Yeah.
just go about, look, we don't need this person anymore. We'll get rid of this person. We don't need that
Hmm.
person. And Skip Bayless, as you mentioned, Najee, he thought he was bigger than the brand. He thought he was bigger than ESPN. However, Skip Bayless went over to Fox and he made more money over at Fox. So some of that could have been Skip
Yeah.
was going to leave anyway. He wasn't going to stay because he was going to go over to the highest bidder who came to him with the most
The
money.
highest bidder, because he knew who was gonna pay him. Come on now, just like you said, Skip thought he was bigger than that. So why would you not make more money? Look how many people that Skip had. Okay, for example, when Skip went to Fox, how many people he had to be there with him? It was really just Shannon till he pissed Shannon off, and then he had Michael
It
Irvin
was
and
And
Richard
he had
Sherman and all
Richard
of them at the same
Sherman and
time,
all
right?
those guys, and
Yeah,
Keyshawn
all
Johnson and
just
all of them joined him. Yeah.
Keyshawn Johnson,
Lil
another dude,
Wayne.
right? But he
Yeah.
but he
Lil
put all
Wayne.
them. But hang
Everybody
on,
over there.
yeah, exactly. So that was really because of Shannon Sharp left. So he was trying to bring a whole bunch of power to hold that same momentum.
The property.
Now,
Yeah.
as long but as long as Stephen A has been with First Take, look how many people he has had. He done had Skip.
Well,
He done had Max Kellerman. He done
He
had
had
Michael
Carrie
Irvin.
Champion, who was
He,
the moderator as
he,
well. She started it out, I
that
think. Carrie
too.
Champion did.
Exactly, but that's what I'm trying to tell you. Look how many people he's had by his side that's not getting the
Yeah.
money that they wanted, and they end up leaving. You
Yeah.
think they the number one show? Just like he says all the time, they've been a number one show for years. How are you on a number one show and leave to go something smaller?
Yeah.
True.
But you
True.
know what?
Oh,
That's
okay,
always been his
exactly.
bargaining power, though, DC. That's been Stephen
He's
A's
had
bargaining
so many
power. That's why.
coworkers.
Yeah. But with him always been the number one show, that's his bargaining power because he can always go to the executives and say, "Look, here's my numbers. I'm beating everybody, and it's been going
Thank
on
you.
for years. Why can
Thank
I
you.
get that $100 million
But
bag?" And that's why they still dingling around. And I think he's going to get it ultimately.
Stephen A.
but
Smith
if
is
you're so sold on your coworker, you will make sure they get paid too. If he really wanted Skip, or he
Well,
really wanted Max
he's
Kellerman on
selfish
his
when it
side,
comes to
he's
that
gonna
now.
make sure they stay his
Nah,
partner.
man. Nah, he's selfish when it comes to that now, Najee. He
My
want to
point
be the man
exactly.
that I'm on top, I'm making
My
the
point
money.
exactly.
He's selfish when it comes to
Yep.
that. He don't care nothing about who's making what.
well,
Yep.
let me
My
just
point
tell you
exactly.
my angle on Stephen A. Stephen A. is always with his particular show, First Take. He started out as a writer, a sports writer in Philadelphia at the Philadelphia Inquirer, and he worked his way up. I'm very, I admire the way he came up. But when he got to First Take, he became that dominant alpha male on First Take. He did not want anybody coming on the First Take to get bigger than him. That's why, a lot of times on First Take, I used to watch Stephen A. put people on blast all the time. He just basically destroy you if he decided that he wanted to do that. Skip was one of the only few that he didn't do it to. I didn't see him go off on Skip too much, but other times there was other guests and people who came through that he just go off on them, and that's what he did
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Max. Max was,
He
I
did. He
think,
did it with Max a lot.
he dogged
He did it with
Max
Max a
out,
lot.
and what he did
And we
with
talking about
Max,
live TV too.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
he did it
you
with
would
Max a
see the
lot.
expressions on Max's face, like, I can't believe this guy just
You
talked to
like
me
you
like
talking
this.
to me like that?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I
man, I'm a
because I
grown
used to
man.
watch it
Yeah,
religiously every
yeah.
morning. I don't watch Stephen A. Smith anymore because I mean, I just don't have any interest in some of the things that he's been involved in over the past few years, and that's just my opinion of it. I mean, I don't dislike the guy, I don't hate him or anything, but I just can't see myself getting up early in the morning, West Coast time, like I used to do religiously, to watch him because I think he's got so arrogant until nothing can touch him. Stephen A wants to be bigger than these athletes. I mean, from
Yeah.
what I pick up, he
Yeah,
That's what
walks
it
he
through
is.
the
do.
back.
He
I mean,
do.
if you look at
Yeah,
how he
Happy
comes
want to be
into
'cause he
these,
don't mind calling nobody a scrub.
he don't mind calling people scrubs. He don't mind trying to
Yeah,
get coaches fired, talking about, well,
yeah,
this coach should be gone and that coach should be gone, and
yeah.
that's
And
his
he's done
opinion.
it too. He's done it. He's
He's
gotten
done
coaches
it.
fired with his
Sure.
rhetoric. Yeah,
Yeah, but some of the rhetoric that he has, it's probably his style of rhetoric where that's what made him number one. I mean, if you think about it,
hmm,
that made him number one because he wasn't afraid to stick his neck out there and say, "Look, this person need to be gone." And he was pretty
yeah,
consistent, and he wasn't discriminatory with that. He did it on both sides. One coach
yeah.
from one particular genre would go, and he'd call him out as well. But getting back to Max Kellerman, I think what they did is they paired Max with Stephen A. for Max to have a different perspective of what Stephen A. had perspective
Yeah.
on. And Max,
Hmm.
according to that, I don't think Max lived up to that expectation because Max is a smart guy. I first learned about Max Kellerman from the boxing side. Max Kellerman is a boxing
yeah,
Yeah,
impresario.
yeah.
that's where I
He's a
knew it from.
phenomenal
That's what
boxer.
his
He's
he
when it
could
comes to
tell you
boxing, he knows that A
anything
through Z.
about the
That's where I
Yeah.
knew it
history
from.
of boxing,
Mm-hmm.
the boxers that boxed in history. He
Yeah.
could tell you because
Hmm.
Max is a very smart guy. He's a very intelligent guy. He's very low key. He doesn't raise his voice. And I think Stephen A took that as bait, and Stephen A took advantage of that in some ways because some days he come on there and he just, like I say, put Max on blast, you know, without
Mm-hmm.
any kind of reason to put him on blast instead of respectfully saying, "Look, I respectfully disagree with you, but no, that's dumb. I mean, that's not that way."
Yeah.
That type of
Yeah.
rhetoric is what
I've
really
heard him call him pathetic. He
exactly.
said, you know what, you're pathetic. I said, oh my God.
Yeah, and this is
On
on
live
live
TV?
TV in front of millions of
Yeah.
people. So what
Yeah.
happened
The number one
was
show. That means everybody watching it.
exactly,
Hmm.
and even Molly would be sitting there looking, staring at Stephen A. like, I can't believe you just said this. I just can't believe you just talked to your co-host just like this. That's just like me jumping out in front of you guys and calling Isaiah stupid or calling you stupid, Najee, or saying that's just dumb. I mean, you don't. disrespect people who you work with. I just don't see it that way. So Max Kellerman left ESPN, and what ESPN has a habit of doing is they will ask you to take time off and they'll pay you. I think his contract was up to $6 million or $5 million. Let me correct that. And it says here that ESPN is literally paying him just like he's still on the job for him to go away. You know what?
We gonna pay
I
you,
wish
but you need
they
to
pay
go
me
away.
like that because Isaiah knows best. Isaiah knows that I wouldn't worry about it at all if whether I came back or not. You know,
I don't know
because
nobody could beat you sleeping.
yeah, nobody can beat me.
I don't know anybody. Nah, not sleeping.
Not beat me sleeping. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's in the sense of real sleep, laying down, going to
Yeah,
bed.
right.
Nobody
You're
can
not
beat me
doing a
with
damn
that.
thing. Yeah.
So since Max didn't really put up a conflictual conversation, because TV is built on conflict, man. We all know that. We all know these reality TV shows and a lot of these other shows, they build off of the buildup of conflict. People going after each other. And the shows that are like that tend to do better than the shows that don't do like that. So Stephen A has that figured out. He's got that down pat. He's got that figured out to know that, look, I got to get conflict with some of these people that come on this show. Now, I'm going to just tell you a guy that really would have been a good co-host for Stephen A back in the day was Jay Williams. Jay Will. Because Jay Williams took issue with Stephen A always going off on African-American athletes as opposed to white American athletes. And Jay Will would call him out on it. The first couple times I saw Jay Will on there was like, well, Aaron Rodgers did this. You didn't talk about him, but if an African-American athlete did this, you were all over them. I mean, why would you do that? Why would you talk about it? Especially when it came to the NBA with Kyrie Irving. He had this thing where he would just pretty much try to destroy Kyrie Irving on TV. As far as what I could see.
Especially during the pandemic, man. During the pandemic, he was going nuts.
Yeah, he was going off. So Jay Will would call him out on that. Jay Will would come on to the show and just face him off and basically stare him down and say, you know what? You're not consistent, Stephen A. You don't step when another athlete makes the same type of mistake or some type of mini scandal or whatever. You just don't step up like you do when it comes to Kyrie Irving for calling for certain things to happen to Kyrie, because there were several times where
that was what we was with Brooklyn, right?
Right. When Kyrie was with Brooklyn.
Okay.
I'm
gonna go the thing with Brooklyn. He had some things that was very questionable to me too. Like the situation with Trump and the when those guys just bum rushed DC.
Right.
I ain't gonna lie, I was pissed off with Kyrie, but Kyrie he took away from basketball, saying the stuff that we got going in DC, I need to get my head together. So I'm gonna step away from basketball for a few days.
Yeah.
And then I said, hold on, wait.
That wasn't a good excuse.
You taking games away because something's going on in DC. What? I said, man, people a lot of times they be siding with these players not to play out of arrest or for certain issues. I'm like, bro, you pay more to see the players. You don't get prorated for the tickets after you pay for them already. So let's say if I want to see Kyrie play tonight, just for example, if he plays tonight, and I gotta pay $200 to see him per ticket, me and my girl go. So I'm paying $400 to see them play. Cool. He's gonna sit out because he's mad Trump won the election. Whoa! What? I paid $400 to see the rest of the team and not you.
That's true.
Especially now, Kyrie, he plays for the Mavericks.
Like
so you mean to tell me if AD is hurt, so he's not playing, so it's just Kyrie, and then now he's not going to play because Trump got elected. What? So I'm down $400 to see the bench play? That's what you're telling me? Right. That's not a good excuse, sir.
It's really kind of, it sounds very poor excuse now. And Stephen A kind of brought some of that out. And I guess he felt the need to, because I think Stephen A's angle from it was Kyrie was just taking advantage of something that he shouldn't have been taking advantage of. You know, and that's Stephen A's own opinion and perspective of it. But if that's the case, do you call Kyrie out on national TV like that and say, well, this next contract coming up, I wouldn't, if I was a general manager or an owner, I wouldn't even consider him with the next contract coming up because he took this time off or he took this day off or whatever. I don't think I would go that far to try to put a professional athlete out there like that because we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know what's going on with Kyrie Irving, nor did Stephen A. know really behind the scenes because I remember Marvin Lewis, who's ex-coach of the Bengals, came on and told Stephen A. when he finally came on Stephen A.'s show, Stephen A., there's a lot of stuff you don't understand that happens within an organization. I know because I'm within the organization. So when you make those assertions, you have to be careful because guess what? You don't know what's going on within these organizations. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, but his selfishness don't allow that to manifest, though, DC. He don't care. Only thing he want to do is get the ratings. He want the conflict going on. He want the mayhem going on.
He's done a good job.
Around,
he's done a good job at that. He's done a good. He's one of the best in the business to do that kind of work. I mean, when it comes to stuff that's considered conflict and things of like that nature, he's right in the thick of it. So my question to you, Isaiah, is what do you think Max Kellerman should do if he decides he wants to come back to sports and talk TV sports? You think he should get his own podcast, kind of like what Don Lemon did after he got let go at CNN, or should he come back to ESPN and go where they tell him to go, because that's how it's going to be. If he comes back to ESPN, he's going to be placed where ESPN want him to be placed. A lot of times in the early morning slots or the late afternoon slots, those can be detrimental to how many views you get and how many, the type of audience.
What's his fan base? It depends what his fan base is.
Right.
But you always got to remember, if he's under contract, they probably can place him anywhere he wanted. He just got to do his job. He just got to do his job.
Yeah, because he's already getting paid still anyway. So, yeah, you definitely got to listen to what we say if you still want this bag. So, yeah.
If he wants his money, all he got to do is just ride it out till the contract is out, man. He's on paid vacation right now and just smoking a cigar and relax.
$5 million a year?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Could you be on paid vacation with $5 million a year, Najee?
Oh yeah, I could.
Of course, of course. I do. I run grocery ships. $5 million a year. Yep. What you say? You need some bananas today? All right, let me go get them. $5 million to chill out. Yeah, all right.
But to sum up the whole thing, and we'll move on to the next topic, Max Kellerman was placed on First Take to be kind of the opposite of what Stephen A. was. And it didn't quite work out that way because Max Kellerman was mild-mannered. He was laid back. He wasn't the kind of guy that he would put certain people on blast in a way where it was louder than Stephen A. Because Stephen A. is not going to let you be louder than him. It's just not going to happen, right?
Nah.
Right.
Mm-mm. He gonna cut you off, and he gonna put you in place.
So it looks a little bit.
He's rude anyway. He's just rude when he do that stuff, man. And he know it works for ratings.
Rudeness means it equates number one ratings. Yeah. That's just the way it is.
If you look at even the reality shows when Jerry Springer and all those guys came about, all that conflict and mayhem and junk on that TV made the ratings go out the roof. And that's a Stephen A. type of tactic, man. He does that. He want to make some kind of guy uncomfortable. He want to make people pissed off with him, and he don't give a crap because it makes his ratings go out the roof. Right. And that's his game. That's his niche.
So Najee, do you think Max Kellerman can be as successful as Shay with his own podcast?
Nah.
Why would
I don't think so. I personally don't think he has the personality to even keep up with Shay. Yeah, his personality is not there, and I'm pretty sure his fan base is not even high as that, and he's been in this longer than Shannon. But when it comes to that, I mean, it really depends because if because me personally, I didn't like some of his takes anyway because his boxing is top tier. His boxing is top tier.
Correct.
But he had some tapes with Tom Brady when he was with the Buccaneers. He had some tapes with them, and I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? How can you say that Brady's falling off and they're about to win a championship? He had something with the last shot in the NBA. He said, "Who you rather?" They was asking, "Who you rather take the last shot in the NBA to win a championship?" They said, Steph Curry, and they said somebody else. He said, "No, I'm not going to pick one of them. I'm going to pick Eagle Dollar." I said, "You're going to pick Eagle
I
Dollar over
remember that.
Steph Curry?"
I remember that.
What? I said, just think about what you said.
That
Eagle
is
Dollar, that's already an
laughable.
inconsistent
That
shooter.
just
That he's not even a
yeah,
great free thrower. And you pick
exactly.
Yeah.
Eagle Dollar over Steph?
Yeah, that was
That right there told me already
that
you're
was
delusional
comical.
and not all the way there. That I said, bro, there's
That's
no
why
way
That
you
he
was
don't
believe
that
that.
take
was
There's no way you
comical.
believe that.
That's the reason
So
why he don't take vacation.
one thing is for sure, ESPN is not going to let anyone get bigger so that they can get so large that they can demand all this money, just like Stephen A is probably going to get. Now, the same thing happened to Reggie Bush, and I believe it was over at Fox. If I'm not mistaken, they used to do Fox College Football Saturdays. It was either Fox or CBS, but I'll follow up on it. And it looks as though like they particularly Reggie Bush went in and he thought he had, basically leverage. He thought he had leverage to be able to get a bigger contract, and they told him, "No, bro, we're not going to pay you that kind of money." And he ended up leaving, and he wasn't back on TV anymore for quite
Wow.
some time.
I didn't even know why that happened, DC,
Yeah,
because I thought he
he
was a rather
he
good
was
addition to
he.
the team,
I
man.
thought he was too. Him,
When
Urban
he had them
Meyer,
on. Yeah.
Mark Ingram Jr.
Mhm.
They had several guys over there that he was with over at that channel, and it's just like I guess Bush thought that, look, I got the kind of leverage because of my name recognition. I'm a Heisman
Yeah.
Trophy winner. I can go in and me and my agent can work this thing out. And I don't think
Yeah.
they didn't have the patience to hear at all what he was talking about. So he ended up leaving TV. I don't think he ever came back to a major network unless it's somewhere I don't know anything about. So one thing about these bigger networks, they control the flow. You would never control the flow. If you want your
Yeah.
own thing, you start your YouTube channel, kind of like Shay Shay, build your
Mhm.
brand, build your following, and then go on with that. Because Shay Shay and Don Lemon are two of the most successful ones I've seen so far.
Yeah, but they owe embedded into this thing. He was brand new at it, man. You got to have some type of form and structure to do that, man. And he wasn't there long enough. He didn't develop his own fan base and none of that stuff like they've done. Don Lemon been out there for 30 years. Shay Shay been in professional sports and had a Hall of Famer and all this type of stuff. And then he kind of pulled it over to a morning show, and people knew him from that. It wasn't the same thing with Reggie Bush, man. Reggie Bush came on there for a couple seasons, and that's it. He's a good football player in college and pro, but when it comes to being an announcer, that's altogether different, man. I mean, they got hundreds of announcers, and your faces can easily be changed, and that's what happened to him.
That's true. You're
Yeah.
indispensable. You're technically dispensable in a lot of ways because you
He
know
didn't even stay. He didn't even stay in the spotlight long enough for that
no,
to
he
happen.
didn't.
Right.
He didn't. And it looks
Right.
like this was big noon kickoff, and it was on Fox Sports. They used to be at all the games. If I was Reggie Bush, he had plenty of money before he even got to this network. I would have just probably let it go if it was me, just to be able to,
The
maintain
building stuff.
to
Yeah.
stay on TV and to build my brand
Setting up his
even
Yeah.
bigger.
resume. That's
I think
all.
he
Yeah.
prematurely thought that his value was much more than they looked at his value as being, because
Mhm.
people who are paying you and people who are paying you big money, they determine your
hmm
value. You don't go in, you don't determine your own value. You have to go in and you have to convince them that your value meets their level of value. So if they have a level of value, let's just say at 500,000, you got to show them that, look, I'm worth $1 million because this is what I've accomplished. These are my accomplishments. And if you can convince them of that, you might be
Showing
good
them
to
all them
go.
accolades.
Absolutely. So anyway, let's get to this final topic, and let's talk a little bit about our top draft pick Travis Hunter,
Travis
ex-University
Hunter.
of Colorado Buffaloes, wide receiver,
Yeah.
cornerback, two-way player, all world, in my opinion. The kid has just got mad skills. I mean, I ain't gonna even question the fact he actually left Jackson State to go to Colorado with Coach Prime. And let me give you a little bit of history into Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter was a 5-star blue chipper plus coming out of high school in Swanee, Georgia. Every school in the nation wanted Travis Hunter. Nick Saban wanted Travis Hunter. Florida State wanted Travis Hunter. Miami wanted Travis. He could have went to any school in the country, Division I school he wanted to go to. However, Prime was able to go there and sit on his couch and with his parents and convince him to come to Jackson State. The rest is history, gentlemen. The rest is history because he went to Jackson State and he was able to play at Jackson State. And then when Coach Prime got offered the Colorado job, look, he was one of them Louis Vuittons that Coach Prime told those players at Colorado who was from that 1-13 team, look, I'm bringing my Louis with me, baby. I'm going to give you guys a chance to go into the portal if you want to now. If you want to stay here and grow into something that's successful, you can be here. We don't mind you being here. But I'm going to bring my Louis, and his Louis were Shador, Shiloh, Travis Hunter. Those were his Louis Vuittons.
Yes,
he had 3 luggage cases, which were his Louis Vuittons. So Travis Hunter,
he lost all of them in the same draft.
Exactly. Travis Hunter was exceptional. That's the best word I could put to this young man. He was exceptional. He was undersized, however, but he made up that size with how well he thought. His football intelligence. His football intelligence, I would say, played 70% of his ability to be able to compete at the level that he competed as because he played both sides of the ball. So he knew what a wide receiver more than likely was going to do when he was on the defensive side. When he was on the offensive side, he knew some of the things that the defender might try to do when he was actually going up against a defender. So long story short, he was drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars, number 2 pick out of the 2025 NFL draft. Well, the Jacksonville made an extraordinary pick. I thought he was the right person for them to pick to be there with Trevor Lawrence because Trevor Lawrence is a pretty good quarterback, especially if he has the weapons to throw to. Looks like this past weekend, Travis Hunter has made news again, and he has just gotten married to Liana Lani in a lavish ceremony. And he basically presented her with a 6-figure gift at the wedding. Now, let me just say this. I'm happy for Travis Hunter. Congratulations. That's all I'll say. However, I want to start asking Isaiah, what do you think? Do you think this was a good decision for him to get married this early at 22 years of age?
Well, I can't tell what's going on in the mind of a person, man. Love, he's crazy in love, man. That dude knows as wide as the Atlantic Ocean, man. He's crazy about this woman.
As wide as his smile is.
Man. Oh my God.
What's the old saying? His nose is wide open.
It is. And the thing is, I just wish him well. I just hope he don't get taken to the cleaners because allegedly he don't have a prenuptial agreement.
He doesn't have, according to these news clippings,
to
he
those
doesn't.
articles, they don't. He don't have one. He just signed his contract over to her if anything happens after that. But if everything all goes well, it was beautiful for him to make a decision like that.
Absolutely.
And one thing, man, I'm gonna tell you something. I admire Prime, man, because Prime was a guy who mentored him. He's been through several divorces himself, so he knows how the game works. But he never pressured this guy to leave her alone because remember that song, If a Man Loved a Woman, he'll turn his back on his best friend if he put her down. So Prime ain't say nothing. He left him alone, man, because you go in there and antagonize this guy about his girlfriend, then he gonna turn you off. He'll cut you off, man. everything you say to him, he won't listen to you no more. So he gonna have to take this thing on the chin himself if things go south. I just wish him well, man, because the
I
guy
do
is
too.
freaking over the hill for her. I mean, to see the wedding, it was lavish, it was beautiful, it was elegant. They both looked nice. They had their friends and family and colleagues there, but and he was dancing his rear end off like he was on Dancing with the Stars, man, on these segments that I've seen.
Smiling,
And
just
he
smiling.
appeared to be happy, man. So I just wish him well, man, and because it needs to be more of these young kids out here making commitment to women, because most of them don't want to do nothing but
Commitment
fling and play
instead of
around.
is
So
Right.
if
just
all goes
fornicate
well,
and make
that's what
babies
it's
and
all
that's it.
about.
Yeah,
Well, it
yeah,
looks as though
I agree.
here, according to some of the news that I've been reading, that Prime didn't even attend a wedding. So that speaks volumes. Wouldn't
No,
you say that speaks
I
volumes,
didn't.
Najee?
I didn't see Prime there or
Yeah,
Shador or Shallow
yeah.
there. Neither one. I didn't see either one of
Yeah,
them there.
so they might don't co-sign with it, but they don't also want to tell that man where his
No, they're
heart should
not.
be. So I can
And
see
you
that.
Right.
shouldn't be. You
Yeah.
shouldn't be telling him where his heart should be. He has every right to fall in love
The
who he
dude.
prefers to fall in love with. There, I don't have any issue with that. I wish him well also, because
Mm-hmm.
I want success for young African American men. For him to
Mm-hmm.
start a family, for him to have, maybe if he has decide him and her had decided to have kids, raise your kids, raise your family, and bring your
Mm-hmm.
family up to generational wealth levels where it's just unlike ever before for his family, because where he comes from and where he is now is like, night and day, if you think about it. But however, I think that not having it, and if these allegations are true by him not having a prenuptial agreement, that to me is a equivalent of driving your car without insurance, and
Yeah.
you're in traffic
Yeah.
every day. That's just
Yeah.
the example that I would use. You are driving around
Mm-hmm.
with no insurance, and people are swiping at you and tailgating you, and then once you get hit, guess what? You don't have insurance. Who's going to fix your
Yeah.
car? Or
Yeah.
who's going to pay your medical bills if you decide to go to hospital? That's the only
Yeah.
issue that I see, that I don't know what type of advice, or because did someone
He
try to
probably didn't
talk to him?
listen.
There could
DC,
have been.
everybody
There
has
could have been.
spoken to him about it.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, you protect
Celebrities and
you don't know
all.
yourself
how many
no matter
Celebrities and
celebrities
all
what.
came
said,
out and
leave
spoke
that
to
girl
him.
alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you think about the whole bigger picture of it, it might work out, and I hope it work out for his sake. But man, you still should have something as a backup mechanism. He's getting ready to sign
Some type of security.
a
Some
46 million dollar contract
He ain't
plus.
no
and over
getting
30
ready.
of it guaranteed.
He's done it already. He's got the bag already.
Yeah.
He was rich already before he, got married and
Yeah,
before he got in the NFL.
because he
He
was
bought
making
Yeah,
the
because
money.
with
He was making
making that
money
NIL
in
money
the
at
in
Colorado from
college.
NIL. Yeah.
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 hmm
So it looks like here, I have a question for you, Isaiah. Basically, at 22, is there a significant commitment in this relationship? Would you think, and from your side of it, that he should have gotten from her and she should have gotten from him to kind of reinforce the fact that they will be together? Does that make sense?
Well, that prenup would have did that. The prenup would have solidified everything when you talking about coming into this kind of money and just to reassure you that you ain't gonna just drop a couple babies and be going on your way. It would have done that,
Mm-hmm.
man. But he should have really got some professional help to guide him through this thing. And if it goes south, he's just gonna be taken. So and he should be
Take
well
it.
aware
Because
of
she
that
was there
now.
when he was
Not a
broke.
dumb
So
guy.
yeah. So
Everybody
she definitely was
everybody
gonna
has
take it.
spoken to him. I've seen people come online and told their own personal stories about having a relationship and it didn't work out. All he gotta do is just go over on the West Coast where you are, DC, and listen to Tyrese statements about having a baby and marriage because he's going through it himself,
You're
man.
talking
And
about
he
the
has
vocalist singer
the
Tyrese
finger.
Gibson.
Yeah,
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 right.
yep.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
he'd be a perfect lecturer. I mean, if Tyrese were
Well,
to go talk to young men and youngsters, on how to lecture them about what to look out for and the pitfalls of any type of relationship, whether it's just a boyfriend girlfriend relationship or whether it's a marriage or whatever the case may be. Tyrese would be really good at that because some of
Yeah.
the things that I've seen him say publicly, it just seemed like he's very, very upset, and he was so passionate,
hmm
and he thought that woman loved him, but I guess he just looked, he
Nope.
just didn't see the light
And
at
he's
the
She
time.
just love what
absolutely
he
crazy
provide.
about
That's
his
all.
child.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's absolutely crazy about his daughter too, man. And
yeah.
I think if according to some stories that I read of late, he's secured his daughter now. He's got custody of his
Yeah, she
daughter.
live with him
So
now.
maybe
So that means he just
yeah,
got off child support.
yeah,
So, question for you, Najee, is there's been a lot of public scrutiny, of course, because people from both sides are going to have their opinions of this, just like we just
Hmm.
expressed our opinions. Let's just say that it works out, and I'm hoping that it will. It'll shut up all the naysayers, right? Even though
Okay,
him and
but
her are
what you
fairly
mean by
young,
work?
him
Because
and her
they
is fairly
really young.
young.
So
Can it
so what
sustain?
window are we talking about? That's the
So can
difference.
it sustain the endurance of him playing football, traveling, all of the possible pitfalls that he's going to be facing, and when he goes to different cities, if you know what I mean? I mean, how is he
yeah.
going to
Hmm.
be able to deal with that? Will he be able to sustain as well that relationship? Is it sustainable to you?
To me, I don't know. I just don't think so. Not only they're just too young, that they have that stigma between them two, to it's gonna be like a countdown almost to like when things gonna hit the fan, when they gonna show her true colors, or how long is she really gonna do this. They probably gonna track her spending or what she does while he's playing. Is she gonna attend any of his games? Like, bro, it's gonna be a whole bunch. They gonna be under, as long as his name is up there, and then they actually follow him. They're gonna follow her.
Yeah.
She might even have her own little podcast or show or something just because she's attached to him. It's gonna be, as long as his name is up there, they're gonna be talking about him. That's what it is gonna
Yeah.
be. Like how Reggie Bush
Yeah.
is when he was with Kim Kardashian and all that. They're gonna continue
Mhm.
talking about him until he fades away. Now, I mean, bro, you said they were 22, 23 years old. You know how long they gonna not stop talking about that when you talking about making babies, when they, because eventually
Right.
they probably gonna want one. Then you talking about just them always being in the spotlight. They gonna be going to any events, award shows, or anything.
Hmm.
It's gonna be a good minute, bro. So you see how long they
Yeah.
talking about Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift. They've been
Right.
together for about two,
Yeah.
3 years now. They continue talking about them, and they ain't nothing but just boyfriend and girlfriend. They ain't married. They ain't
True.
married at all.
Yeah.
And they
That's a
both in their
little
mid
bit
thirties.
different though. Not,
They both in their
I
mid
think that's a
thirties.
little bit. Yeah, but that right there is a little bit different though, because you're talking about a person who a superstar in their own right. Both of them are. See, the way he's getting scrutinized is because she's being deemed as a gold digger, man, and she's jumping on the
Yeah,
coattail of a
exactly.
guy who's a millionaire. And let me tell you why. And she just added some extra scrutiny against her during, after a game when some other
I
women
was
came
just
to
getting ready to
congratulate him,
bring that
and
up.
his
Yeah.
wife or girlfriend at the time went ballistic about him just speaking to other women. And you, of course, you an athlete, you're gonna have fans, even if they didn't want anything to
True.
do with him, but to say hello to him. And she went nuts. And after that, that's when people just start ramping about her because they felt like she's controlling and he's vulnerable and he's letting her go to the club while he sit out in the car until she come
The
out and all
car
that type
chilling,
of
yeah,
stuff. You know,
exactly.
that type
Especially
of
when you're a
thing
baddie. Do you know
they
how many
took liberty.
people approach you?
Right.
So you mean to tell me she got approached by dozen people and he in the car
Yeah. Yeah.
sleeping? Come
Yeah.
on, man.
Well,
Nah,
I'm glad you
nah.
brought that incident
Mm-mm.
up, Isaiah, because it looks as though now allegedly they were playing Oklahoma State University at Folsom Field in Colorado. They were blowing out Oklahoma State. I believe he caught a ball and he went out of bounds on Oklahoma State sideline, which their cheerleaders were in that area. And I
hmm
guess there was some speculation that he stared at one of the cheerleaders or they stared at him and they made eye contact, and she saw that from the stands. Now it says here, basically, he went up to her after the game because that was Colorado's last regular season game. He was a senior. Him and Shador and all of them guys was playing for their last game for the Buffs. That was supposed to have been his happiest moment after that game when he approached her, and it seems as though here it looks that there was some tension there, according to what the TV showed, that she wasn't so happy with him approaching her after the game. Now, according to her, she didn't explain it like that. She said it was something that her frustration of the security people not allowing her to, access the field thereafter to go onto the field. Whatever the case may have been, do you look at that as an ominous sign, Isaiah, as to something that could be a possible potential problem in the future for them? Their relationship?
Because you got to understand, when you're a professional athlete, you got to remain calm and as a professional yourself, because what looks like it's something is nothing. And that's common for, one thing people got to do, women, I'm saying, and men. When you have a woman that's the celebrity and going to have fans and stuff like that, you got to really channel that down and try to keep it out of your mind that they may be jumping on to some other person or something like that. You will lose your hair if you continue to have that form of attitude toward your spouse or your mate interacting with other people. So it's just not a good look for her, because a lot of folks don't even think, look at him, look at her, and look at him, like as if he's not good enough for her. She's this bright girl with long hair, and he's dark, and he's got this wide smile, and they think that he ain't supposed to have a woman like that.
Well,
they just think
that might be a very valid question, and whether the question is, she would have given him an opportunity if he weren't a professional athlete now, or before he became a professional athlete. While he
she already said that he wasn't her type. She been said already at one point.
And that's another thing. See, that was it too. When she said that he wasn't the type, and that right there drove people to feel that way for her.
Well, when a person tell you you're not their type, I have a personal experience with that. You better turn and run. You better turn and get up out of there, because it's not going to turn out.
Turn to the same boat.
It is not going to be positive at the very end. Now, I can't predict Travis Hunter's situation, because I think he knows better than we do about what his situation is. But if a person tell you you're not their type, especially the opposite sex, and they tell you that, you better turn and you better run. You better go on the other way. Now, if you want to stay friends with that person, that's one thing. But if you're talking about getting into a long-term relationship with them, you can forget it. You can forget it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work, because they are telling you you are not their type. So if that don't resonate in your brain, something's wrong. You're just never going to get it, right? So,
like, how you go from I can't see myself with you to I want you for the rest of my life.
Exactly.
Exactly.
With all due respect for her saying that, did he have any money at that time when she said that? She might not say it on the physical, in the looks of it. She said, he ain't my type because he ain't had a bag yet. Was she saying that, or the look of him?
Somebody must have told her, girl, he's the best fan in the school. He is.
Hey, if he worked for UPS and he dropping off packages, or Amazon or one of them places, would she give him some time? And she already told him he's not her type. If he was a post office delivery mailman, would he be her type? Come on.
Yeah, truck driver. That was probably at that moment. At that moment, he wasn't her type.
Exactly.
When he got that bag, then now he is my type. So
I think he understands it too as well, that, coming from his background, and he came from a good family and everything. But at the end of the day, if those two people were to have met at some point in time before he became a football player or whatever the case may be, who's to know or who's to say whether they would be together now. But let's wrap this show up, man. I had a really good conversation, man. I am so encouraged. I'm so enlightened. You guys touch my heart, man, because, man, we got it going on because this is where the party at, and we ain't going nowhere.
Right.
At here. We right here. We're here to stay.
Right
We're going to
here.
be doing, by the way, we're going to be doing one stream a week for now. And we're going to do a weekend stream moving forward. And we're going to have some in the middle of the week streams. So we'll be, going back and forth. And we will put the message out there. We'll let everybody know at least 3 to 4 days in advance when we're going to stream live. We're going to start doing some on location streaming as well. Once we go to these football camps and start to go to some of these places where we could stream live high school football games, we'll stream from those games where we'll cover the game for you as a viewer. If you have any suggestions for us of things that we might can do, that you might want to see, let us know. We're always here for you. We're always going to try to answer as many comments as we can get to. You can visit our website, once again, www.dcstewartpodcast.com, www.dcstewartpodcast.com. Hit those like buttons because the algorithm is very friendly, and make sure you continue to subscribe because you will get the notifications when we upload new videos. The one most important thing about subscribing is you will be the first to get the notifications. That's a big benefit for you as opposed to having to wait and think, well, when are they going to put out the next video? Once you subscribe, you would get that alert. So once the video is uploaded, you'll be able to download it and be able to watch it wherever on your mobile phone, cell phone, or on a computer, a desktop computer. We appreciate you as a viewer. We've gotten to this point, and we definitely want more of you to come aboard and hit that like button and that subscribe button. So, Isaiah, would you like to close it out?
Of course. Yeah. Beautiful. Happy Memorial Day to us as U.S. citizens. And I want you guys to tell your friends, your colleagues, your co-workers, everybody that we're on. We're here for you. We're happy. We're doing what we love to do. I've been knowing DC since we was like 3 or 4 years old. And now we got Najee aboard with us. It's a beautiful, beautiful situation for all of us. So keep on watching. We got beautiful content, entertainment for you. We're going to be doing live for the NBA draft. So tell all your friends and colleagues that we on. So
we're going to
you guys
have a live
beautiful
draft day for that. And we're going to be doing Jersey mics on that draft day for NBA draft day. So make sure you go get your own Jersey mic so you can eat along with us while we're watching the draft, and we'll go from there. Well said, Isaiah. How about you, Najee? Can you close it out for us?
All right. Peace and blessings. Enjoy this holiday. Eat good because I'm going to continue eating good. Keep love in your heart. Get rid of hate. Hate ain't it, bro. Hate is not it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Once again, happy Memorial Day. Enjoy the rest of this day with your family. Cook out, eat good, just like Najee said, and we will be doing this thing again very soon. Thank you for joining the DC Stewart Show. Peace, love, and prosperity. Take it easy.